Welcome in. Happy Saturday. Ground into this space. I've been meditating here for a while. So bear with me as I shift. I'm at this like telepathic space where I want to just like all this information that I have right here at the kind of the forefront of my mind. So I'll do my best to focus. It's been a long couple of weeks. I know for me, the beginning of my year started out this way, where there's just deep rest, and it feels like buried. Suffocating is kind of a feeling too. But there's like a pushing energy. So anyway, okay, let's kind of come into focus here. We've got some things lit. What do I have? I have the Deviant Moon. I picked up the new chapter. I think we're going to start with the new chapter and then kind of ease our way into the Deviant Moon. Also, I brought I have with me a Dweller on Two Planets and a couple of notes from that space, maybe fairies as well. If you do jump on here during the live stream, feel free to ask questions. Nobody's on here just yet. Also, if you have requests for these, you can message me and reach out to me for private one-on-one readings. I think that would be a really great opportunity to do that. Good time for both of us. In going into a new chapter, let's just start kind of maybe where we picked up off of last time. Pick up where we started off or left off last time. 9 cycles. We're looking at the 9. This year is a 9 cycle. So there's a lot of releasing. There's a lot of letting go of stuff. I almost kind of want to focus in on this energy, but also within this space. What did I find? I found invocation, temperance, and our 8 discs. And this 8 discs kind of has a similar energy to this 4 of swords. I wonder if this is like a, how are you looking at things? Or, no, because quantum leaping and development has been coming through in some ways. I've been writing a lot too. I wrote down some stuff yesterday. We might be able to get into that, but we'll see. Like I said, there's just kind of a lot of information, so I'm going to do my best to discern on this space and then make it relevant to the energies that are showing up and coming through. So from this space of burial, waiting, resting, deep rest, very, very deep rest. One eye's closed, one eye's open. From this space, after coming out of this deep space, there is a contemplation or a creative thing. Hello, welcome in. And so going into this creative space, I want to say going into this creative space, there has to be temperance. There must be a, can you hear that? I've got, tuning fork frequencies playing on in the background. This one, we're at 528, so transformation and miracles. It's a bit loud. I think I need to turn this down, so hold on just a second, because repetitive tones. Just gonna turn the volume down on the frequencies for the time being, just so I can focus, but they are here. So transformation and miracles. Maybe that's part of what this is about. I've been focusing so much on the transformation, guided transformations coming out of that. Our frequencies just went up again, so connecting relationships. So the relationships between things, I think, are going to be important as well. I mean, maybe that's why a dweller on two planets came out, because not only is it relationships with other people, but it's relationship with yourselves, or selves in various dimensions. And I think, for me personally, at least, it's been difficult to, what's the word I'm going to say? Integrate or show up or like come out of this deep resting space, because there's the void. That one came in too. So if we're transforming, we're going from one state to another, there's this liminal space in the intermediary, or the void. It's a concept or something that was presented to me last night in my meditative space. Okay, fine. In the void. And in the void and in this realm of understanding, I mean, even here, in this space between things, the point and the purpose is to temper and to balance and to bring things into harmony, or harmonizing things. And from this too, there's something that stood out to me yesterday, like from this space of creativity, or for creating things, it's very important to create from this balanced, temperate place, coming at this space of, I want to say calmness, but I feel like it goes even deeper than that, as far as like the sensations and whatnot. And so invocation, what are we bringing in this space when we get the opportunity to think and to reflect and take those ideas and then make it something tangible? We have an opportunity again to call in something that we need. And maybe before we dive into some of these other cards, what are some points? We'll get to this one. We'll come kind of back around to this. Returning to spiritual order. That's funny. That's our frequency tone here. Returning to spiritual order. Let's go here. So first, I opened it up to, and I do this kind of like pulling cards, right? Grab a book and I open it, and then there's a relevant passage as far as divination goes, or divination, synchronicities. You can look beyond some of these, how do I want to say, traditional archetypical, whatever concepts. This card's on top too, so we'll get to this conflict, or this inner conflict after conflict, because again, relationships and fighting, this is going to come out now as it's relevant. One of the ideas, concepts, or something that's been kind of floating in my brain for the last couple of days is, let's just say they have been fighting you and not fighting for you. That can be internal as well, in regards to self-advocacy. We're having to harmonize the dual, and it's difficult in these spaces where you are contemplating or reflecting and healing. And what you need most in this space is someone to fight for you, or to stand up for you, or to keep things balanced and harmonized, right? But I think there's just so much fear and misunderstanding that's kind of overwhelming the populace, let's say. So in these spaces of emotional reflection, recovery, healing, growth, advancement, transformation, that can trigger people, that can upset people when you're going through these big changes or making major changes in your life or doing things differently. It upsets people, and so they fight you instead of fighting for you, and then so there's no safe space for that, and it's really difficult. And so there's no safe space in the environment and in the context of the relationship and the people you're with. You dig yourself a hole in such a way, or you hide yourself and you create a safe space, or you create a safety. I mean, even this one, it's a church, grounded church windows, there's something secure. But if we stay in the dark and we hide ourselves, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to present the information and the knowledge that we know. This is something that I'm honestly struggling with. Maybe. Of isolating and kind of going within and getting into this space of just being alone, to longing and craving community, but not having safe space or having safety within community, and then so kind of defaulting into this realm of self-protection. However, as we open it up and we go into the void, into these liminal spaces, the information that's coming through here is this one. I have called you friends, for all things that I have of the Father I have made known unto you. So as we tap into Source here and make these connections, here is where community is developed and where community is built. And as you're transforming, or you're going through these elevations, and we're talking about frequencies over here, frequencies, vibrations. We're at 285, healing tissue and organs. How do I want to put it? Vibrational levels, most people are vibrating down here, and so as you begin to raise your vibration, right, the density of people within that energy becomes less and less and less. And so as you transform or go through these big changes in life, it gets, I don't want to say lonelier, but alone-lier kind of up in this space, because not very many people are up here vibrating at these spaces yet. Not that they can't be, but they could be. But again, we're talking about invocation. Okay, so let's go to Dwell on Two Planets. Back to the second piece. This part stood out. The error of their ways suddenly became very apparent to the evildoers, and administration of the laws was again in accord with their spirit as with their letter. Liberating guilt and fear is the frequency that we're at now. So when we can liberate our guilt or liberate our fear and kind of step into the unknown spaces of expression and express from this balanced, temperate place, then it's a lot easier to invoke the things that are in our highest good. If you have questions, you can ask. I'm going to do my best to watch the comment feed. I don't always see everybody pop in here, but sometimes I do. Okay, let's keep going. The day of the dismal prophecy had been looked for as the decades passed into centuries, but its time was not yet come, and though many alarmists set days when it surely would come, it came not, and the unfed light continued. Again, something within the fear-mongering and the battling and people anticipating the worst. And I think in that collective space, when we're visualizing, say, World War III, there's a higher likelihood of those things happening. But we're talking here about light, the light body. I mean, light. It's in this one too. Rainbow is representations of light, and the fractals, the fragments of light, or the various vibrational aspects of light, from red to violet. They all have different frequencies, color frequencies as well. There doesn't have to be a specific order, but when we combine them into a, do I call it a masterpiece? Into a window, like a window for the soul, then we can see clearly. That's interesting. The unfed light continued. I wonder if that's in here more. There's something about the unfed light. Something within the creative process as well. There's this light side of you. There's this creative aspect of you that you're not acknowledging and you're not feeding. We're talking about like soul feeding the soul. which goes into the ceremonial aspects that starts to pop up here too. This whole part 134 to 135 is referencing ceremonies. And my shamanic teacher pointed this one out to me, or highlighted this one to me, where there's a difference between ceremonies and ritual. The ritual aspect of it is the part we are not looking for. We are not looking to invoke our ego or use our ego into rituals to manipulate and maintain something we think we want. The ceremonial aspect is being more open to the flow and acknowledging things as they are within that radical acceptance, and allowing the control, or the need to control, to kind of fizzle out. According to the law bodies of all souls which had passed into Navazamin were cremated. This even included some animals. Those dying at a distance were incinerated, and some of the multitude, which the government provided all through the provinces. And if there was like an incinerated human body, the ashes were taken as a ceremonial act. Interesting. Those of the departed from Seifel were taken as they lay in death to the parted from in Calithwan, being raised to the top of the cube with a capital C, were let fall face forward into the unfed light. Something there. In either case, whether as incinerated ashes or unaltered forms, the result was the same. That is, while there was no flaming, no smoke, no tremor of the maxim, nevertheless the instantaneous disappearance of the object occurred at the second of contact with the marvelous unfed fire. Hence it had been sung by poets as the gateway to the country which each soul must discover for itself. Gateway. That's interesting. Let me make a note. There's something I'm incredibly fascinated by, and that would be portals. Portals, doorways. There was something that popped up about doorways into sacred spaces or temples the other day too. That was like, oh yeah, duh. Where when you enter, or like that gateway, that portal, that threshold, that initial like, I don't want to say like divide between here and there, is incredibly important. It plays into the psyche. The psyche does something very, very interesting. I think there was like a documentary about Göbekli Tepe, which is one of the oldest civilization sacred spaces I think that we've uncovered in Turkey. And there's something about that gateway space, and forgive me if the paraphrasing isn't correct or kind of diluted in a way, but when you cross over that threshold or you go into a new space, it does something to the mind where it plays into the psyche, where it creates like a blank slate or a passageway, or there's like a phenomenon, a psychological phenomenon, that as you go through this passageway, the body, the mind knows or understands that the environment or the context of the environment is very different. And as far as human behavior goes, when we're talking about conditioning or conditional responses or just behavior, the environment is incredibly important and relevant to the actions and the behaviors that those are. So creating some sort of ceremonial doorway or gateway to pull yourself through is really important right now. It almost makes me wish I had my portal gateway behind me, an art piece. It's like a 6 foot by 4 foot or something. It's just a big giant doorway or portal. And I've been working on it for a while. I started it for a while, and it's just been sitting in the hallway, kind of faced away, just because it's so big, and I don't really have anywhere to put it to work on it without like completely rearranging my entire environment around this one art piece. Just a bit overwhelming and impractical. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be something large or literal. It can be something more symbolic than that. Knight of Cups, similar again to our Two of Swords. So contrasting variations. If there's battle and conflict and there's striving and whatever, we're not really going to get very far. So as far as the unfed light or tapping into this potential, I don't know how to use that word, but tapping into this light body or this light self, there is no longer this light, dark, looking at each other in conflict and fighting. There is a temperance and a balance and a harmony. So these two things work together, one addressing this side of things, one addressing this side of things, and then the light, the armored body, the protection, everything coming into center and coming into alignment. That's pretty cool. That's kind of intense. And then 5 discs pop up as well. Okay, so again, like these contrasting. I don't want to call it dueling. If I call it dueling, it's gonna invoke a sense of fighting. So we're gonna call it contrasting. So placing two things next to each other in such a way where they complement each other, like complementary colors. In a color wheel, they might be opposites on the color wheel, but when you place them next to each other, they enhance the vibration of the other. They create these neurological responses or these action potentials within the brain that have visceral responses, or the body engages in a way where there's action within the body. There's movement, there's something energized. And so to the portals and to the gateways, it's kind of fascinating to me how similar these two decks are. I mean, they're radically different as far as like new chapter, light, whatever, fractals, and then deviant moon, deviant darkness, kind of. The deviant moon is one of my favorite decks. Some of the imagery in it could be interpreted as disturbing or dark, but the interpretations of it are so light, and it's just so full of meaning, and I love it. There's just something in there where it just, okay, anyway. Contrasting in portals. 5 discs and 10 discs. These are both discs, but it's 5 and 10, and things are doubled, or things are kind of multiplied. With this, it's a 4 and an 8. This one as well, so the 4 swords to the 8. So when we double something, or when we multiply it, or when we give it the equal and opposite attention, that might be the way to go, then we get something more holistic, right? So 5 and 10, 5 is half a 10. Interesting to me that the 4, half of 8, something darker, heavier, the more negative side of things, doubling that, multiplying that, the quantum leaping, then we go into the light, positive side of that. These are polar opposites, so they create a magnetic field and a magnetic force, which again drives action, energy potential. So 5, being half a 10, gives this kind of like dark macabre feeling, but we double it and we multiply it, and it's the complete opposite. I mean, it's like death and dying, rebirth, opportunity, this blank slate space into a vision of family and harmony, pulling all the things together, birth. There's a mother and child on here. So there's an aspect too of releasing the ego, releasing this idea of who you think you are, the self in this body, allowing it to dematerialize so that the offspring can grow, so that spring can come. And that's even kind of referenced in this as well. If it's wintertime and things are buried, there's a waiting process. I also want to call it a procession too, because we're talking about ceremonies, so ceremonial procession. It's similar whether in a funeral or in a marriage. There's this procession, there's a crossing of a threshold, there's a walking of bodies from one symbolic state to another. Both very similar, death and marriage. Kind of one and the same. But again, opposites. When I first pulled out... Okay, I guess before I go there, let's just talk about death, because death shows up here, and I feel like when it comes to these four, we'll checkerboard it. When it comes to these four, kind of in this checkerboard, the central point, the harmonizing theme between all of them, I don't know if you can see them on the deck here or not. Yes, the deck. I'm not going to call it the desk. I'm going to call it the deck. I am a captain piloting a ship at the moment, and here we traverse in outer space. And so, death, 5. It's 13 in the card. I say 5 because I have 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that 5th element, that 5th energy that brings all 4 of those pieces together is the... I mean, even in numerology, 5 has to do with action, movement. It's kind of an uncomfortable energy, but it has to do with moving the physical body, or movements and frequency shifts and changes within the physical body. And we have kind of this overarching theme of rainbow, light, fractaled, glass, composited, colored glass, stained glass window theme kind of going on here. In this space to invoke in something bigger, we have to release something to allow something new to come in. This is energy is neither created nor destroyed. It always goes somewhere. You can't not exist, because you do exist in one shape, form, or another. Okay, so my point, these were here with these. Okay, so I was going to say, as I was shuffling through this and going into this premeditated component, I had some cards just fly out, like invocation, temperance. And then I had, I guess, 5 other cards kind of left behind. So let's look at the things that are left behind, because I think those were very relevant, and maybe they'll help to tell part of the story too. So why are things buried? Why are there conflicts between oppositions or opposing forces? There's a sense of betrayal. There's something here that has been very difficult. There's been forces that have disempowered you, that have really hurt. And with the sword through the leg, this is preventing movement. This is not killing you, but weakening you in such a way where it's like a slow bleed out. And that is not... it's like the energy of decay, of destruction, taking you down. And even in the background, there's these 2 light and dark forces, but they're turned away, so there's you in the middle. Where did it go? I stuck it back in there. There's you in the middle, the thing kind of in the middle, and they're looking away. They're not turned towards each other. That's fine, I'm gonna go with, oh no, it's this one right, it's sitting right on top. Okay, so how do we put this? Because these two are kind of mirroring each other too in a way, but in opposite ways. So take a look. Is this identifying solely as a unicorn and having the positive, negative, light, dark, him, her, masculine, feminine, outside of you, taking that down, trying to take that power? Or are you giving that power away? Are they bloodletting? But something very destructive. They're trying to kill you, or they tried. And so the natural state after this would be the burial, or the recouping, the recovery. When you recover and you learn from this experience, and you tap into that unfed light, and you put on the armor, this power of the horse. If I had my computer out, we could go into the symbolism of horses. Maybe I'll put it in the comments or something like that after. Steadfast comes to mind, and they're like, no, okay, I'm being kind to tell you the relevance of the story of the horses, the meditation of the horse. When I was in grad school, we had to do this group meditation to find our cosmic hero. It was a guided meditation led by Joanna Gozawa, a phenomenal teacher. And in this space, the vision I had was this big field, big grassy field, tall mountains way off in the distance. And there was a horse, and it was running. It was running as fast as it could. And it ran, 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 until it ran so fast. I was on it too, right? Writing it. I just started running so fast. No, okay, let me back up. The meditation began with me running through this field as fast as I could. Just running. Just the freedom of it. The complete liberation. God, it felt so good. So fast that a horse appeared under me. Horses run much faster. And we ran and we ran and we ran so fast until this thing started to take flight. And it spread wings, and then we spun up into the cosmos, and then Cosmic Hero. It's why I ride a golden unicorn. I have a life-size golden unicorn that I play a human statue on. And there's just so much to it, but okay, that's not the point. So when you recover that power, and you call your power back to you, and you find your cosmic hero, or you get into this space of liberation, where this power, the unicorn horn, I wonder if unicorns didn't become extinct because people kill them all for their magical powers, for what makes them unique, to take that for themselves, thinking, well, if I have the horn, I'm going to be the best. But that's not how it works. Just because you're taking from somebody else and then placing it on you, or placing it on your altar, or doing magic with it, doesn't make it real. So when you call back that power and you acknowledge this, I'm going to say the third eye, or the connection to the other realms and the other spirits and the intuitive forces, and you I want to say stop looking outside of you for the validation, support, encouragement, permission. You give all of that back to yourself, and you give yourself the light power, that light force, and you go into the cosmos, and you seek the sun. You bring those, and you unify everything. You have armor, blah 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 blah. I think you get the point. So into the story, we're invoking. All of this is meant to cultivate consciousness, cultivate creative consciousness, so that all of this that's been planted can be harvested, but that harvesting comes in right timing. Back to listen into the star, and we fly off into the cosmos. We go into this light body. Okay, so the whole point, transformation. They're telling me to talk about the whole luminous. We're talking about a dweller on 2 planets, flying up into the cosmos, talking about evolution, and someone to me doesn't want to go into this, and I'm just like, well, it's kind of so far-fetched, but it makes perfect sense. So we are evolving as a species, and we're going through collectively this cycle where we're becoming something different. It's similar, but it's different. It's a more evolved form, right? And if we are Homo sapiens, and we are sapient beings, we are locked in to the laws of the material world. And in this sapient consciousness, we destroy. We destroy ourselves, we destroy each other, we decay, dissolve, decompose, we're breaking things apart. It's not bad, it's necessary, and it's part of the cycle, it's part of the evolutionary thing. We have for, I don't know, the last couple thousand years or whatever, been working through aspects within our genetics or within our code line and our house cleaning, I guess, in such a way where collectively now we are beginning to release these different notions and these different ideologies so that we can evolve into the Homo luminous. So we go from sapient to luminous. So we go from this physical, tangible, like solid, separate awareness into a luminous awareness. Where did you go? Where all is one, everything is interconnected. In this space of being Homo luminous, we recognize ourselves as vibrating particles and light bodies. We can see down to the quantum components, where we're talking about anticolor, or I mean, we can even go up a level from that and talk about the particles, electrons, neutrons, protons. I mean, the electron, proton, neutron thing even shows up in here, right? There's 1, 2, and then the neutral unifying force kind of in the midst of that, and then there's the void and then the spaces in between, and that openness. Okay, so like light, it's not solid, it's an energy, it's a vibrational frequency, or it's a collection of vibrational frequencies. So when we understand ourselves from that as Homo luminous bodies, we then have the capacity within us to heal ourselves. We consciously can tap into source, for lack of a better word, into the light, for again, lack of a better word. I don't want to go to like too woo-woo, but we kind of have to do the woo-woo thing before we get really serious, because I think people are so locked into the sapient mentality that getting them outside of that to be able to believe in things that they cannot see. I mean, this looks solid to me, but if we are to look at it, it's molecular basis. It's not solid at all. So heal thyself consciously. It's just kind of the foundation and the baseline of everything that I do. And I like to kind of avoid it, or not look at it, not address it, where there's just like this belief in this ideology where I just know, like, it's just a knowing, it's a feeling, a sensation, a vibration. There's like a frequency. I can feel the where I'm vibrating at, and I think that vibrational aspect transcends words. And perhaps there's like the telepathic component or something to it, where, I mean, if you can vibrate up to a certain level and you can be open and receptive to it, you'll get it without me having to tell you. It's like a showing you, but it's feeling you. And there's another big aha moment that I've had in the last couple of days. Let's come back into this, because what I have noticed about myself, staying around with neurodivergence, and it's not just me, and this happens to neurodivergent people, where because they're different, they are told they need to change, or be normal, or be different, or they need to act and do things in a certain way, but they don't. How do we put this? It's kind of the aha. I've gone through a lot of trauma, so I've got some triggers here, and I can just kind of feel some things coming up, and I think that's interesting. Just as far as like speaking truth and being yourself and coming into this is going to be interesting for me to look back on, because I'm gonna, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm gonna kind of hold that thought over here and maybe circle back to it. It's not that it's not relevant, but again, it's like one of those where, like, if you can feel me feeling you, feeling me feeling you, you'll get it. I don't have to say it. I have to be careful what I say or how I say it, because there are people who want to misinterpret that and then take those words or take something out of context and use it against me. And, oh yeah, okay, so there's the point. I'm done regulating other people. I can't do it anymore. In relationships, I've spent so much of my energy regulating my emotional affect in order to make other people comfortable, or to please other people, or to show up in a way that doesn't make people uncomfortable. When people are uncomfortable, they can be very mean, or they can project things that aren't true. And it feels like getting punched in the face over and over and over again, or just getting knocked down over and over and over again. And then being told, like scapegoated, being told that you're wrong, you're doing it wrong, or bad for doing things differently. And so I tried really, really hard to people please and show up in a way that I think and feel makes people more comfortable. But it's at my expense, because I'm not comfortable. I am exhausted. I'm exerting so much of my energy regulating myself to regulate other people that I'm just fucking burnt out. When I realize that this is what's going on, I feel like I can breathe. I feel like I can breathe so much easier now, and I think if I approach relationships initially with that idea or concept in mind, it's going to make things a lot better for me in the long run. My power is not going to be siphoned anymore. I'm not going to be giving my power away anymore, and I can be successful, and I can succeed, and I can be in this realm of security where people can't take that from me, and I'll try. But I'm done regulating other people's emotions. It's not that I want to go around making other people uncomfortable. But as a lion, stepping into this lion heart, my sun is a Leo moon, that lion heart. I'm a Pisces moon. I'm so spongy and so emotionally sensitive. And my son, being a lion, a Leo moon, he's such a strong heart. I mean, this kid is just so brave and so bold and so just secure in himself and his emotions. I love it and I admire it. And it gives me a North Star to focus on, and we can balance each other out in that space. He can be brave and I can be mushy, and I can show him the mushy side and he can show me the brave side, and we temper each other out, and then we balance each other, and it's harmonious and it's beautiful, and I love it. It's the most amazing thing. I mean, this kid just empowers me so much, and he just doesn't know. So 5 wands. There's that fifth card again. Where'd you go? Here you are, Death. Death is a 5. We kind of stuck it in there as our fifth element. Oh, this is 5 discs though. I almost want to say this card is a 5 as well, even though it's a 13. I'll show you something. So X being 10, half of 10 is 5. We're doing that weird double duplicating thing. And then you have the 3 ones. So on either side of that, there's 1 on this side, 1 on that side, and then the balancing force in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's a middle ground. Let's put these two together. They're kind of like the same thing here. This death feeling. This is 5 discs. Maybe I'll look at what 5 discs is, just to kind of compare and contrast. It's like ritual by fire, death by fire. We're also talking about the bravery that it takes to transform. Transformation by fire. I posted just maybe below this one or whatever yesterday, something called Mwaki. Mwaki means fire. Birth by fire, liberated by fire. Who's gonna do it? Maybe that person here. Stars, fire, or say like chemical combustions. I'm telling the story. Oh, and so like again, our comparing and contrasting the pain. The pain of alchemy, the pain of alchemizing things, or the sensation of alchemy. It's intense, it burns, it's hot. When it cools off, think of the temperature of a leaf, or the temperature of plants. They're cool. I don't know that I've ever felt a plant and have felt heat. Mammals, sure, animals, maybe. But from plants, they're cool. Well, some are cold. And they're doing this amazing thing where they're transforming the molecules in the air. So we have things like oxygen. They're doing things like transforming the soil. So we can have things like food. There's a lot of energy in this space, but I feel like we're finally getting somewhere. Like the wheels are on the bus, and they're going round and round. Let's make the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. The whole town's changing. Everybody, the whole collective, change is coming, transformation is coming at all, and from this like dark space to the metaphor of the LA fires. Oh god. All through the town, that whole transformation, everything is being generated. Uh-oh. Collectively, I think this is doing something very interesting There's a rising resistance. There's a resistance to change, sure, but I think there's also resistance to things staying the same, or resistance to things staying as they've been for the last epic. I'm going to say era too, but epic is coming to mind. Okay, let's look at 5 discs. Where are you? In the back? Invocation is here. I'll read to you Invocation 2. And then we'll go into 5 discs, because I think this is going to trigger a lot of people, just the image, and it's going to trigger a lot of people, and it's going to make them defensive, and they're going to go like, woof, kind of on guard, or they're going to kind of lock down, shut down, and not necessarily be receptive to what needs to be said next. So let's go into a space of receptivity. Take a moment to clarify your intentions. This is a call to connect with your guides. Reach out to the guardian of the first threshold. They will test your resolve and worthiness to cross over. Thresholds, again, gateways, the worthiness to get from one side to the next. I think that's really important. There are specific steps to transformation. You can't just decide, oh, I'm this, and go walk around and be like, oh, I call myself this because I'm this. There's a rite, an initiation rite, rite of passage. Initiation rite and rite of passage. You have to be right to get through it. If something is wrong, I mean, it's just not going to work. Intimidating at first, the guardian nonetheless holds your best interests and inner growth at heart. Magic is all around us, and we only need to tap into it, so open yourself to receive guidance and wisdom. I think that some of the angst I'm feeling, or anxiety I'm feeling, or kind of the hesitation that I'm picking up on every time I open up this space, or whatever it is, I'm sensing intimidation. I'm not intimidated. I'm sensing intimidation. I went to a psychic astrologer for a life purpose reading many moons ago, and he tells me in this space that I don't have a jealous bone in my body, and that anytime I sense or I feel jealousy, it's probably the other person feeling it, and I'm picking up on it and then treating it as if it's my own, feeling it as if it's my own, because like that stupid Pisces moon, so I just feel all of the things, and I have a really difficult time discerning what's mine and what somebody else's. And it's important to me that when I enter in this space, that I'm not in a space of fear or anxiety, fear. Yet every time I go to open this space, there's a sensation I'm picking up on, and it's intimidation. It's okay to reach out. I think a lot of this information can be quite striking. I think there can be things that are in here. This goes kind of into one of my ahas, or something that I wrote here. I'm debating whether or not to like write it up and make a post of it or something. But it has to do with this, and I feel called to address it in this moment. Because in order to move forward together and to move forward collectively, we have to trust each other. And in the psychic space, where I am attuned to and can sense and feel and see beyond. Yeah, you get it. People like to hide things and to keep things covered, even from themselves. And when you can see through all of those things and feel whatever it is that people are feeling, even though they don't know, it scares them. And they'll project and they'll turn things around and be like, oh, you're bad, you're this, you're that. Like, I've been called so many names. I've been told I'm all these ugly, horrible things, and it's not true. And it's hard and difficult for me to egoically wrap my mind around someone feeling a certain way towards me. Jealousy, envy, intimidation, because my self-esteem and self-worth has been so low for most of my life. It's always been told to me and mirrored back to me that I am not enough, or I'm not doing things right, or whatever that is. And anytime I listen to the people, my quality of life plummets, and I fall into people pleasing, and I don't feel like myself, and that's not okay, and I can't do that anymore. And I'm learning, especially in this space, when I listen to the guides and convey this information, my quality of life just increases, and I feel free, and I feel liberated, and it's something I want to give and share with other people, but that intimidates some. Not me, but that freedom. Because when you're in that space of freedom and you're not being controlled or not succumbing to the subconscious modalities of conditioning, and you're actually cognizant and conscious of the functions of your behaviors, trust yourself. Okay, let's start shifting, because we gotta talk about 5 of discs. I think we're just about ready. So let's address the other side of this. Trust yourself. Quiet the self-doubt that threatens to overwhelm. That's our temperance. Self-regulating. That's what this guy is doing. He's self-regulating. That's what I think a lot of people don't know how to do, is they don't know how to self-regulate. I self-regulate. So much to the point that it regulates other people. Not anymore. If somebody is acting a certain way, and you're triggered by it, or you're having an emotional reaction to it, and you feel like you're out of control because you don't have experience with the frequency or the vibration of that emotion, things are difficult. More difficult than they need to be. So, heed your inner wisdom and voice and connect with your intuition. Okay, duh. Remember that you don't need to depend so fully on external validation. Duh. We talked about that. It's funny how things kind of full circle together like this, don't they? Here, you will encounter the guardian of the second threshold, who demands that you put all you have learned to use in order to cross. You have everything you need, so face this crossing head on. That's another piece of information that's been coming very clear to me, is I already know all the answers that I'm seeking. Why there is this urge or need to self-doubt, be like, well, I don't know, let me test this and figure it out time and time again. It's just fucking trust yourself. You already know, and it's just, I've proved it to myself. So I'm gonna do my best in this space to approach it with that resolve, so that we can perhaps mitigate some of that tension or anxiety that comes from that space of intimidation. Intimidation sounds a lot like intimate to me, but like a fear of intimacy, or fear of being close, a fear of relationship, and knowing the detached, not detached, dissociated. Detached and dissociated, maybe. Where are you, discs? And where? Oh, there you are. Okay, this one. You just got really, really tired all of a sudden. If you just popped on, I think you're probably carrying a really heavy load or something, or carrying too many burdens. That was a really big energy shift. We can lighten that load a little bit. I suggest if you just pop on when this finishes, start back from the beginning, and get yourself into a frame of mind where you can cross through this threshold, or where you can go through this barrier. You know how like when a dog is carrying a big stick, here's a visual for you. It's a frog. It's carrying a big stick, and it tries to like go through a narrow passageway this way, right? But like it gets stuck because either side of the thing, like whatever, and then here's this big dog, right, carrying this thing, and it's trying to go through the doorway, and it's just got this like really long stick in its mouth, and it can't get through. Whoever just jumped on here, especially, that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. So the challenge then is to take this part out of your mouth, and it's not that you have to be rid of the stick, or you have to, maybe in some cases there's a lot of innovative potential here when you take this burden that you're carrying out of your mouth or out of your head, and you have this tool. Now there's a reason why you picked up this tool, so let's not dismiss it or leave it behind. We can carry it with us, but in order to get it through the doorway, we have to change its form. We have to change its shape or its orientation or the way in which we relate to it. So maybe you carry it with a hand, or instead of having it this way, you turn it this way, and then you grab it with your hand instead of your mouth, or you cut it into smaller pieces, or you get some sort of container or something that you take the smaller pieces and put it in. Maybe when you take it into sections, or you separate it, there's things that you can eliminate, and there are things that you can bring with you. Going back into the genetic evolution, or this, like, whatever we've been doing through our coding in order to get us to evolve into luminous states, there are aspects or components within this genetic code that we want to maintain, but there are unnecessary pieces that are being cleaned, cleared, and eliminated. I mean, if they no longer serve a purpose, why take it with you? And this is where that ceremonial part of it is really, really important. We're not talking, again, about a ritual. We're not trying to force it to be or look a certain way. We are having a ceremony and we're honoring it and we're giving it to higher powers in order to address and to deal with, so that we can be open and receptive to new information coming in, and that new information coming in is going to further accelerate our advancement and our evolution. Okay, can we talk about this one now? It's been a long road to this. A personal financial crisis is at hand, but all is not as bleak as it seems. You might feel like you're starving, but abundance and aid is all around you. This card is a warning. You are unable to accept gifts freely offered out of pride or simple unawareness, which traps you in negative patterns of self-denial. Bound by worry about meeting your material needs, you cannot see the happiness that is in abundance just out of reach. There's a lot packed into that. Collectively, we're learning right now to not value the material things as much, so that we can get to a spiritual space of community. Like these LA fires, everything materially across neighborhoods and communities just fucking dematerialized. All the beautiful homes and the material stuff, poof, gone. And all that's left is community. And it's kind of beautiful to see how people are finding hope and light in these dark spaces when the materials things are gone. And I think you learn in these situations where those aren't the important things at the end of the day. Or perhaps you've gone through something like this. I know I have before, where you've had to lose all of your material possessions, or you've had to get rid of a lot of material possessions in order to adapt and stay alive in a failing system. And it's painful and it hurts. But there's a shift that goes into self-worth and self-value, finding a point and place in the world for that information. And perhaps in the old world or in the sapient consciousness, there was something relevant to that. But we're going into a luminous consciousness, and from this luminous consciousness, there's the sun. We can begin to do things innovatively. I don't want to say differently, but innovatively. Innovation. And when we're talking about the sun and light and particles and frequency and information and creativity, we are alluding to Sheldrake's, Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance field, or concepts such as that, perhaps Akashic records, but I think it's a little bit different. And it's this idea and concept: nothing is created, nothing is destroyed. When it comes to knowledge and all of that, it all exists within the morphic resonance field. There's an energetic resonance where all of the things that ever could possibly be or whatever somehow exist into form. And when we can tap into that light body, we can access source or a different code, or we can access this field of morphic resonance. We can tap in and find new information that doesn't materially exist on this plane. And from there, we get innovation, we get creativity. This is where that flow state comes into mind. This is where channeling comes to mind. There are many creatives, not all, I mean, we all have the capabilities of doing this. We're all psychic. We all have this potential within us to be able to access the light codes or to be able to tap into that. But it takes work, and it takes a certain understanding. But it's there. We can innovate, but all the solutions to the current world problems don't exist on this earth yet. They aren't here. They're still concepts and ideologies, or they're just still energetic frequency, particle, whatever, blah blah blahs, waiting to be tapped into. And when we can tap into that, and we can bring in new ideas, then we get solutions to problems that have been here for a really long time. Warmth, emotional, and material safety. Safety is really important. Safety and security. I think it's something that a lot of people take for granted, and I think if people are intentionally creating unsafe spaces for people in order to intentionally harm them, they're unevolved, still working through shit. Not good, not cool, not okay. Unevolved trauma, working through trauma in a space where they feel they need to cause pain and conflict onto others because they're hurting so bad, and unable to process or work through or alchemize something because of limiting belief systems. It's a blessing of self-acceptance. The true self is known to yourself and those around you, and it is loved for being known. The true self is known to yourself. I mean, if you are conscious of a lot of things and you're open to seeing things, sure, yes. And those around you, not all. Some, me, the space for one, but not all. Or maybe they do. Maybe they see things in you that you can't see in yourself, and instead of trying to elevate you, they tear you down so that you don't see how you can climb, because they're afraid you're going to leave them behind, or they're not going to get something that you get, or they're so obsessed with the material aspects of things, they want to take something from you or be you instead of being themselves. Things are really confounding there. I mean, it's a natural process. It's not good, bad, whatever. It's just part of it all. The sun is fear dispelled, nurturing growth, radiant happiness, a sign of success and abundance. The sun gives and provides without diminishing itself. Bask in this gift of now. If you're feeling a lack of joy, lack of energy, and enthusiasm, I mean, that one hit real big. I mean, that heaviness is lifted a bit. So I think we've alchemized, or we've processed through some of that. We shown some light on things that maybe you didn't want to look at, but we can breathe a little bit, right? Okay, so I mean, even in this like small component of space, in taking the opportunity to address or pay attention to something, we've created an energetic exchange that allows something new to come out of it. You're unsure about how to connect with your happiness. It's a state of mind. Oh, there was another theme that had popped up, and I think I'm gonna keep looking at it. Did I write it down here? Making the best of bad situations. I think that's part of what I'm supposed to teach, or what I'm called to teach, is how to make the best out of bad situations. Because when situations get really bad, people are like, it's the end of it, and then depression and judgments and hopelessness. But making the best out of bad situations, and even though things are difficult, it doesn't really matter. It's part of it. Like, if it takes shit to make bliss, then I feel pretty blissfully. And if life's not beautiful without the pain, then I'd rather never even see beauty again. People forget that. That's not going to go away. You have to radically accept that and acknowledge it. When this card appears, it is a call to embrace frivolity or your inner child. You can let loose once in a while. Happiness is a vital part of life too, and we are taught to suppress this inner child where, you know, we have to be adults, we have to be responsible, and you can't, like, play and have fun. Oh, heaven forbid, everything is so serious. It has to be like this, it has to be like this, and you have to fit into this box, and if you don't fit into this box, then you're bad, and you're shunned, and you're bleh. It's gross, huh? Ugh. When we are in that mentality, our capacity to learn goes woof. When we are in a state of play, our capacity to learn is multiplied, like at least 100-fold. The ability to innovate and to create and to play is a sign of intelligence. You can make yourself smarter by engaging in play. You get energy transference. You get object transference. You get a transference, right? That transference, psychological term again, is inevitable. I do this through innovative and creative behavior development, through something as simple as a brick storm. And I love doing this exercise because we begin to look at the function of objects differently. And when you can begin to look at the function of things differently, then you become innovative, or, you know, your intelligence increases. If you only ever see the function of a brick to build houses, when the time comes to solve a problem and all you have is a brick, you're not going to be able to solve your problem. But if in an instance or situation where all you have is this one thing and you can look at the function of it differently, then all of a sudden you can create a pretty amazing innovative solution to your problem. Ten of Cups comes into mind, right? Where everything is cyclical. When those wheels keep turning, and when there's balance and there's harmony within all the emotional bodies, and that rainbow comes first full circle, and things are tempered and balanced, and things are going to be all right. And I think maybe this is what people fear collectively the most. It's a lot easier to anticipate battle, war, than it is to anticipate peace. In battle and in war, we have this false sense of control where we can control another person. We can, you know, decide whether somebody gets to live or die. But in this space of peace, there's that control doesn't exist. There's flow, there's balance, there's unity, there's a displacement of ego where, you know, you feel like you have to get all the things and be on top and the only one. We're not doing the hierarchical thing. We're getting out of the patriarchy, and we're getting away from the hierarchies and that. It's caused us a lot of problems. We're getting into this space of feminine energy and harmonizing and balancing and unifying, and that can be hard for people to imagine and fathom because they have to release control, and they are forced to adapt into a change in the environment. And that attachment can be debilitating. Is there anything else out of either of these two decks? I don't think so. I feel like there are a lot of questions still, or this is kind of opened up, like, opened the floodgates, opened the gateway into more questions and ideas and things or relevance. And this is where you need to reach out to me and take the initiative and then do the work so we can work through this together. We can sit in session and transform. Okay, but I can't do that work for you. I can't reach out to you and make you do it. You have to do that for yourself. Please, 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 please. I can't beg you. Let's go into a dweller on two planets. Oh no, let's talk about fairies. Because we're kind of at a crossroads here. So since we're at the crossroads, let's just kind of wrap it up maybe a little bit. Did something expand or something grow? Because these just aren't fitting in the box. Look at that. And there's something in there that shouldn't be in there. Oh, there. I put the Deviant Moon deck in there with the new chapter. Maybe it's some balls on its own. This new chapter that we're going into is deviating in the emotional realm, deviating from the norm. There we go. It's all is good. Okay. I think what we need to resolve and close this space off. I said no more, for it at that moment dawned upon me that the pursuer followed us by the prince's order. Somebody is in this space watching me for somebody else who can't access me directly, and they are taking some of the information that they're picking out of this and they are relaying it in a false way, or they are being controlled and manipulated to try and extract specific information, or to twist into something again that can be used against us. It's just fucking bullshit. Get out of here with that. Like, really? You're gonna talk to me directly, but you're intimidated. So instead, you're gonna go off and go talk shit. Sorry, I think it's hilarious. It's just so fucking funny to me that you can't speak directly to me, but you can speak about me, behind me, to somebody else. I'm trying to make sense out of things when the easiest thing to do, I don't want to call it the easiest thing to do, the right thing to do, the rite of passage thing to do, is to communicate with me directly. But you want to communicate with me directly because you're afraid to go through the portal, you're afraid to go through the doorway, because you know what's on the other side is something very different than what you think it is, and something very different than what you're used to, and you're very complacent in this world over here because you have a false sense of control or identity or something. You feel safe but you're not, or you feel secure but you're not. You're being puppeted, you're being manipulated. And once you go through that doorway and you cross over that threshold, you have to be accountable for yourself. That's what scares you. That's what intimidates you, is your capacity to be authentic and accountable for your own actions, thoughts, and beliefs. Out of shame, because you're shamed for something, and so instead of addressing your shame directly and acknowledging where you have faulted and speaking the truth, it's easier for you to shame other people, to give yourself a false sense of control, to make yourself feel better. I'm not regulating people's emotions anymore. I'm not going into this space where I'm going to try to like coddle people, make people feel good. Because I think if we go to people just trying to feel a certain way, then we're looking to be in control of things that are completely outside of our control, and we're missing the bigger picture. And when you see the bigger picture, you can either go, oh, and radically accept that and work with that bigger picture, or you can shut it all down. You can shut down and you can limit yourself, and you can put yourself in this box, and you can only like watch the same show over and over and over again, forgetting that other genres exist. Integrity is really important. As I looked upon the two and remembered Mole Lang's appearance, I thought, what splendid physique these people have. How graceful and perfect every line. It is as if the body were molded upon the soul and perfect in its every physical contact. There's no judgment at my table. There's no trying to make things something they're not. Things are perfect as they are, and as they are constantly in motion and looking to change, and so the imperfections come when there's an unwillingness to grow and evolve, and there's stagnation and toxicity and molding, and who wants to be molded? There's a song that I really like, the Grace Vanderwall, I'm Not Clay. Right, like, you don't get to come in here and shape me. I'm not clay. I'm not an object that you get to come along and control and try to design to fit your own needs, desires. I am as I am, as I am. You can't make me something I'm not. But I can evolve into something that I can become, and I can evolve into something that I will be, and I can release these things that are not in alignment with my highest good and that are not my true self. I don't have to be attached to that. Or other people's opinions. Other people's opinions aren't my business. But I'm really curious, and I really want to know what other people's opinions are. And I really want to see the things that are hidden and uncover things. I always wanted to be an archaeologist. I have this fascination with uncovering and unburying things, like digging with a fine little brush and fine little detail, and like getting into this very delicate, careful thing of preservation. Same thing in this space. This is the same kind of energy. Yes, thou art right in thy thoughts. We make our physical lives correspond to our rigid adherence to law. Though that adherence is to us a second nature, not onerous, nor even in its exercise consciously applied. People are unconscious of everything. They're just doing things because they're programmed like little sheeple. Excesses, intemperance, interesting because temperance came out. Excesses, intemperances, indulgence of that nature is so pleasant to the animal senses. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it's good for you. sometimes the things that feel the best, or that are the best for you, don't feel good. Bitters is such an amazing, like, healing medicine. These bitter herbs are amazing at healing, but the initial taste of bitterness, I'll be like, ugh, I don't want to eat that. I want to eat sugar. But sugar's toxic. It tastes really good. It's really addictive. Our brains are like, zing, but so toxic to the system. Yet we consume so much of it. Sugar's in everything, poisoning you. Poisoned by sugar. And you're like, oh, but it's so good and it tastes good. I love it. I gotta have more and go buy more candy and drink more soda. The bitters. That's the stuff that's gonna heal you. Not to say that like all sweet things are bad. I'm sweet. But we have taste buds that register many different things all the time. So if all you want to taste is sweetness, you're missing out on the complexities of life. That sucks, that's hard. You know? And sometimes the bitter truth will do us the most justice. These have no attraction, but instead are utterly repugnant. Vegetarians strictly never taking life for any selfish purpose. Is it wonderful that our material frames conform to our soul shapes? Our soul shapes, something about the shaping of the clay, or the environment adapting to who we truly are instead of who we are adapting to an environment. The environment will adapt to who we truly are, and that is that light body. But what kind of disturbs me with this, like vegetarians, they're like, whoa, but I'm not taking life. You're taking a plant's life. Plants are alive. Just because they're cool or they're cold doesn't mean that they're alive. Something doesn't have to be warm and fuzzy to be considered alive. That coldness is so important. It's life. Life is hot and cold. I just want to be warm all the time. You know how healing cold plunges are for you and ice baths? Holy shit, what it can do for the body. But people are intimidated or afraid of the cold, or they see the cold as something bad. Or when I've been told that I'm emotionally cold because I'm not people pleasing. Or I'm not giving people what they want. That's out of the context of men in relationships mostly. Like if the guy doesn't get what he wants out of a relationship with me, then he throws a big fit and then tells me I'm cold or I'm mean because I'm not giving him or doing exactly what he wants. But I'm not to be controlled. You don't get to come in here and control me with your words or who you think I am or who you want me to be to fit this narrative and to fit this picture to make us all feel better. Truly not, I replied, but in my case, how could conformity to law change the appearance of an unhandsome maturity? My body is already grown, completed in obedience to laws not wisely nor very closely kept. I see you possess difficult wisdom, but I am not, and find it hard to remember that I have heard of it. As for making the knowledge practical, impossible. The occult adept is born, not made. His or her knowledge is from within, not from without. Unto thee shall be given the key of the Spirit, and behold, the all-knowing will enter into thy soul, and though no man shall teach thee, neither any book, yet shalt thou become aware of all things, for all things are of our Father, and that is the Spirit. St. John the 16th. But ere the Spirit come in, the house must be swept, and my brother Philos, I would that thou wert not destined to endure this ordeal. If the occult that knoweth all things is born of many lives, and in these has been evil, thou art so born. It is karma. Our true nature is the luminous light body that can tap in and access the morphic resonance field. We are conditioned out of that to believe that we are helpless and dependent upon a system that doesn't have our highest interest in mind or our highest good at hand. We have to relearn this and all that bad stuff, and the evil ones and all of that. It's karma. I find it rather ironic that no, I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to mention it. Hold on. Can I tell this story? No, I really want to, but I'm getting a no. No. It's too personal. Alright, let's pick a fairy and we'll close this off for the day. We've been here for a little while. This is going to give us a little bit of maybe closure or a resolve. Let's not call it closure. Let's resolve. We'll resolve this reading and kind of like put it all into a nutshell, because there's a lot in this one. There's a lot of excuse me. There's a lot of material and information in here that has to pass through a sieve or some sort of filter. I'm so curious. I want feedback. So bad. I love doing these live readings and getting into this space. And I'm trusting this and feeling so confident in here. I feel like I'm missing the dialogue. Not that it feels one-sided, because I can like hear all of the things. I just really want to be in one-on-one space. Not that I don't want to be here too, but now is a really good time for one-on-one sessions. I'm just saying. Okay. Or fairy. I have the deck that goes with this, but I've put it in a somewhat conspicuous space. And I haven't pulled like the actual cards in a long time. I'm just using the book. I don't, because they're mischievous. The deck was given to me, and there's just a lot of attachments to it. There's a lot of entities on it. Work done on it. That's not appropriate for this space. The fairy godmother. Gifts, talents, grace, helpful lessons. Thank you for showing up in this space. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. One morning recently, this is card 25. 2 5s. Reduces to a 7. So, holism as well. Light. There are 7 colors in the rainbow. 7 tones of music. One morning recently, I was having breakfast at the local cafe, and my favorite waitress, Peggy, stopped by my table and asked what I was working on. I showed her my scribbled in copy of good fairies, bad fairies, and explained that I was choosing the cards for an oracle deck, And yes, choosing here is in quotes. We'll get to choosing more. I have a lot of thoughts on choosing, but yeah, anyway. Well, of course, the fairies were choosing them. Of course, the fairies were choosing them, but I didn't necessarily want to explain that to the whole cafe. Piggy had been having a bad morning with difficult customers, and she had reached the stress point where she was dropping and spilling things, which only made matters worse. I encouraged her to pause for a bit, since the cafe wasn't really busy, and take a look at the fairy pictures. She thought she couldn't, but I employed the Piper's wiles, just 24, of friendly coaxing, and she took a little time out to look. You think you don't have time, but you do. You're making excuses and avoiding the opportunity for growth. So, like, nudge, nudge, reach out. How much? $100 is pretty solid for an hour and a half, but I'm so flexible. If you need help, I need help. It's an exchange. When Peggy got to the page of the fairy godmother, she stopped and smiled. Oh yes, she must be in the deck. Definitely she must. The longer Peggy looked at her, the bigger her smile grew, and the more insistent she was to include Sari in the deck. I'll show you the picture in just a second. When she went back to work, I noticed that she still had a little smile on her face and her whole energy had changed. Things were not jumping out of her hands any longer either. This is how Sari the fairy godmother works. She gives us grace to help us along our way. It might be a little touch of fairy dust to lift a mood. It might be a conspicuous miracle. It might be anything in between. The void. Welcome to the void. She protects us from the ill will and plain stupidity of others and from our own mistakes. She untangles the snarls in our psyches and bestows gifts upon us, whatever she feels we need. Sometimes she gives us choices when we thought we had none. Grace is the good fortune we get from the universe even when we don't deserve it. In fact, deserving or not deserving is not the issue. We are, and therefore we are loved. We are. Like what? We are. I am. We are. Simple enough. And therefore we are loved. It's that simple. Sari the God Fairy Mother is a giver of grace and occasionally, quite often in fact, of useful lessons. She tries not to interfere with our learning processes, but she adds that little touch of fairy grace that helps us to learn a little faster sometimes. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Quite often she acts in our lives through the hands and hearts of others. The fairy godmother is the only one to wear a crown of stars, flowers, and branches, which says a lot about her. Luckily, each of us has a fairy godmother to provide the extras that our guardian angels are often too busy to think about. Fairy godmothers in general are well known for their love of parties. Don't forget to invite them to your festivities and special occasions. The fairy godmother glows through us as we perform loving and appropriate kindnesses for others and develop our capacity for unconditional love. Offers last-minute rescues. While she turns up in our meetings, good things may well be happening that we don't think we deserve, or that we do deserve but haven't thought to ask for. That's been a big one for me lately. What do I even ask for? Almost imperceptibly, she teaches us about giving and receiving unconditionally, helping us to open our hearts and love and acceptance, to love and acceptance. She sometimes showers us with abundance. Keep an eye out for unexpected good fortune, especially when you thought you saw bad luck headed your way. Help, fairy godmother, help! Remember to say thank you by passing a kindness on to someone else. Thank you. From the depth of my heart. Thank you for showing up in this space. Practice a little fairy godmothering yourself and see how enjoyable it is. Part of the fun of it is to do it so that the recipient doesn't know where the gift came from. Surprises. When we block the fairy godmother from our daily lives, things are harder than they need to be. We mentioned that earlier, didn't we? Things being harder than they need to be. It doesn't have to be that hard, it really doesn't. The system is built to make it harder than it needs to be, and it just doesn't need to be hard like that. When we attempt to live without the grace of the fairies and of heaven, life is an uphill struggle. When we twist this energy, we become judgmental and get tied in knots trying to decide who is worthy and who is not. Like that. We tie strings to everything we offer others, and then we trip over them. It's that manipulative part that's like giving something to somebody because you want something in return. The selflessness in giving is rare, more rare than it should be. At worst, we sour our lives, sharing nothing and taking from others, becoming the selfish, greedy thief in the night instead of the sparkling fairy godmother who glows with the light from within. No matter how much that thief accumulates, you will never have enough to feel happy or secured or loved. Try and take what you can from me all day long. Try and take what you can from people all day long, but you're not going to be content with that. Love. There are people who will speak and sing and whatever. Love. They don't really mean it. Just because somebody says it doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that they mean it. Truth is a vibration. It's a frequency. We addressed that right at the very beginning of this. Plain and simple. You don't have to speak or say the truth for the truth to be felt. Sometimes silence works wonders. Here's your fairy godmother. Kind of imbibing her energy there for a minute. Alright, let's breathe it out. 3 of them. So my nervous system is regulating. 3. System regulating. Do this too. Pull up on your ears. Like this. Head forward, head backward, head forward, head backward, head backward. Your yawn, cough, something. Whatever. It'll regulate your nervous system. I can show you how to regulate. I can't regulate for you. Okay, have a good day, bye.